The time now 15 minutes past 8.
I believe that our young organization has grown from strength to strength over the years and is already attracting the keen attention and admiration of many countries around the globe. It would also be remiss of me not to mention that our organization has also been subject to misinformation and misrepresentation by a few countries and organizations in their efforts to undermine our aspirations as Melanesians.
It is State of It today with Selwyn Manning. Thanks very much to 36-parallel.com and livenews.co.nz. Good morning, Selwyn.
Yeah, good morning, Glenn.
And so this is interesting news. Of course, that was Frank Bainiarama there. But we're talking about this new security force that's been formed in the Pacific called the Legion. Give us the backgrounder on that.
Yeah, what's happening here is, as you saw from that piece with Bainiarama speaking there, is the Melanesian leaders, they had a meeting, their annual summit, if you like, and they had that over the period in March, and right at the end of March, on the 30th, Friday the 30th of March, they came to a point where they decided, right, we are going to form a very solid group here. They already had the Melanesian Spearhead Group, commonly known as the MSG, and they were determined to express an aspiration, if you like, that MSG is going to look after all issues relevant to Melanesian security, its border control, its military needs, its security needs from the point of view of stabilising any unrest, and even to the point where it will investigate, almost in a federal type of structure, any international crime, globalisation of crime, etc., that may be happening on its patch. Now, what's significant about this, Glenn, is that MSG's been around for some years now, over a decade, but we have never seen it actually express its own self-identity in this way. And most significantly, what has happened in the last year or so is that since the chair of the MSG, the Melanesian Spearhead Group, became under the control of Fiji's Prime Minister and leader, Frank Bainiarama, we've seen very much a strategic positioning that renders much of the Pacific and many other big players in the Pacific irrelevant.
So it's obviously an effort to regain control of the destiny of the region?
Yes, it is, and it renders Australia and New Zealand irrelevant on the patch to a degree from a security point of view, at a point where our foreign affairs ministries and departments are at their weakest point in over a decade. Like we've spoken on your program a number of times relating to New Zealand's Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs being in a situation where it's fragmented, there are factions running, there are reform structures led by the CEO of MFAT here in New Zealand. It's not supported by the bulk of the ambassadors and the diplomats, and there's a distance between the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Murray McCullough, being able to keep it under control. Now, we've discussed all of that. In Australia, with the resignation of Kevin Rudd, there's a transition where newly appointed former Premier of New South Wales, Bob Carr, being appointed into the Minister of Foreign Affairs role over in Australia, has seen quite a significant change from the point of view of an obvious blooding in, if you like, of a person who has not been at federal politics before. His appointment came from outside. He is not an elected member of the Labour-led cabinet. He is one that's appointed by way of a loophole, if you like. Now, all of that has created an opportunity where the Melanesians can really assert some sort of power, and they have done so. And what they've done is formed this legion, and it will be based in a military barracks, basically, a military headquarters just outside of Suva.
But previously, of course, the region has had the Ramsey forces there to help protect or keep control and keep the peace.
Yeah, Ramsey has been very significant, and that's Ramsey has obviously been the what it stands for is the Regional Assistance Mission to the Solomon Islands. And it's been in existence since 2003, where Australia forces, New Zealand forces, and contributions from right across the Pacific went into the Solomon Islands to settle it down. It was a civil war, basically, in Solomon Islands, and this regional assistance mission gathered in Townsville. I was up there at the time and witnessed them signing a document that says it's a non-aggression pact. We're not invading Solomon Islands. We're going in there to help Solomon Islands settle down the unrest. That regional assistance has been there ever since. Now, the problems for the Melanesians is when you've got an Australian-led and a New Zealand-dominated contribution to one of their island states, it's very, very slow to disengage. There's so much money, so many millions and millions of dollars that Australia and New Zealand and other Pacific nations have invested into the Solomons. There's a reticence to come out too soon in case it's wasted money and that things go awry again. Now, the opportunity is here now. In the latter stages of this deployment to Ramsey, it's expected in the next 2 years Ramsey will pull out. The Melanesians have said, okay, we're going to sort these things out for ourselves in the future, and they've formed this thing called the Legion that is going to do that for them. There's also other issues that come to hand as well. There is deep sea mineral exploitation technologies available now. Multinationals have been talking to the Melanesians in significant numbers about each of those states, about how to extract gold, oil, gas, copper, etc., from deep sea areas, and areas that up until now have been it's been impossible to extract that kind of mineral wealth.
Uneconomic.
Uneconomic, and it's not now. And it's seen as the big boom period coming for the Melanesians. This Legion is one where, led by Fiji to a degree, it's saying to all of those multinationals, we're in there with you. We want joint ventures, and we will not allow domestic civil unrest to affect the economic gains potentially that can come to both of our parties. That's the signal. Those regional assistance missions like Ramsey that we spoke about, very slow to get off the ground. Things can go awry for years before a region will actually get the political will and the political might together to actually go and do something. With this Legion, they're saying, no, we'll sort it out straight away. And in Bainimarama's words, in the Melanesian way, Glenn.
But finally, aren't we starting just now, this week, to seeing unrest in Papua New Guinea?
Yeah, we are, and there's a bit of a clip here that might be playing as well on this. Now, this unrest in Papua New Guinea has been building up since last year, when the Grand Chief, Sir Michael Somare, became ill, and he went to Singapore and was hospitalised in Singapore. During that period of time, Peter O'Neill rose up from within the parliament in Papua New Guinea and took Papua New Guinea legislature by storm, if you like, in the sense that he got the popular vote inside the parliament to become the Prime Minister. When Sir Michael Somare became well and returned, he found he was not Prime Minister anymore. It was like a political coup, if you like. Now, since that time, both O'Neill and Somare have cited that they are the legitimate Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, and the whole place has been factionalised. It's institutional instability in Papua New Guinea. It comes to an election in June, July. There has been debate as to whether or not they can meet the requirements of holding a democratic election at that time, and the fractions and the fragmentation right through society, from the judiciary to the police to security. There was even a mutiny that went for a week in the military up there. Has been going on ever since. The Australians, they've tried to get in on this patch, and this is perhaps an indication of what I was talking about at the beginning of this bulletin, where Australia and New Zealand are ineffective now. Bob Carr, the new Foreign Affairs Minister of Australia, he said if PNG does not hold its democratic elections as scheduled in June, July, then Australia will institute sanctions against PNG. PNG turned around and basically gave them a good solid telling off, and the Australians backed off.
Interesting.
So that's completely different to what we saw if you look back to when John Howard and Alexander Downer were leading the Australian pack. And it certainly was different when you saw Stephen Smith as Foreign Minister of Australia. There was still an element of solid control. These Melanesians got a taste of power. They got a taste of very big economic gains coming their way if they play their game right and keep their place stable, and they've made a move with this Legion to do so.
All right, well, you can find more analysis on this from Selwyn and a forecast as well up at 36-parallel.com, and you'll find this as a video once more up at livenews.co.nz. Selwyn, thanks very much. Talk to you next week.